Hey everybody, happy Saturday to you. Oh my gosh, I am so happy to be with you today, bringing the show to you once again, the first week after my 1 year anniversary. So now I guess we could say it's been a year and a week since I've been doing the show, and I'm still excited now as I was from the beginning, probably more so now because, I have about 47, I guess today would make the 48th show underneath my belt. So the more I do the show, the more confident I am about doing the show. And I see the growth from day one until now since I have been doing this show. And I hope that you've enjoyed listening to the show as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you each and every Saturday. But anyway, the name of the show is Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. And so before we get to today's title and topic, I want to give out some URLs like I do every weekend. So grab yourself a pencil, a pen, and a piece of paper, and let's get at it. All right, so the first URL is, of course, Spreaker, and it is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian E. Moore. My Facebook account is, of course, https:// and that is www.facebook.com/Vivian E. Moore. If you want to check me out on Pinterest, that is https:// Vivian Moore 48. My Twitter handle is God's Property 46. And if you want to, look at my Instagram page, that is https://Instagram.com/God's Property 51. And I would love for you to check out my website, and that is https://VivianMoore.wixsite. That's WIXSITE.com. Author Vivian Moore. And in my blog site is where I upload all of my weekly blogs to blog site, and that one is at Vivian E. Moore at blogsite.com. All right, so let's get on with today's program. The title of today's show is The Whole Truth, Nothing But, well, almost. And the topic of the show is using your creative license as a writer. I remember as a child telling stories. Well, it's what we were allowed to say instead of using the word lying. It was offensive to my parents to hear such language coming out of the mouth of a child. So, if they could hear me now, at least read the stories I've written. I've taken the word lying to an extremely different level, but it is perfectly legal because I have a creative license that gives me the authority to do so. Well, creativity is self-explanatory. It means you are allowed to make stuff up as you go while sticking to the truth as much as possible. Well, that's my philosophy anyway. As a writer, I love to do what I do best, and that is telling stories. I'm sorry about my other computer booting up in the background, but it is part of my gifting, and it is my craft to create situations and control the outcome of the characters of whom I write about, their lives. With pen and paper and keyboard, I spin tales of joy, heartache, and despair. But the best part is there's always a successful conclusion. Having a creative license at my disposal gives me the right to exercise authority and write about whatever I wish, good or evil. I choose good because who doesn't like a heartwarming story? Now, keep in mind, you must not abuse the privilege. At any given time, it can be revoked through the power of your readers, who will slay you if they feel you've taken things just a little too far. Yes, even the best writers can get lost on this power trip and think that they are invincible. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not true. And there are limits. Not only do I write books, but I also read them. Some stories go beyond the imagination and insult the intelligence of the reader, and I can attest to this truth because I've seen it with my very own eyes. This is where fact-checking applies, and research on behalf of the author is a wise thing to evoke. Just because you can create alternative truths doesn't mean it applies in all cases, especially if you are implementing well-known facts or historical events and characters into your stories. Please remember that the audience you're appealing to are intelligent. Chances are they know more than what you give them credit for. For example, you can't say that the Civil War took place in 1812, better known as the Revolutionary War, and expect the audience to believe you are an accredited writer. Believe me, they will call you out for making such a drastic error. It might result in a scathing review that a multitude of other readers will see, which will lend further discredit to your ability as an author. Abusing your creative license in this manner may result in an action called revoking. Creativity does not outweigh credibility. Remember that. Creative license allows you to demonstrate the ability of the imagination to flow between reality and make-believe, the balancing of both worlds. This is what it's all about. Asserting yourself as a writer, using your ability to dream aloud, and sharing your imagination with millions of others. Although you are bound and withheld to certain standards set forth by the gift of creativity, nevertheless, there is no expiration date when it comes to your creative license. Keep dreaming, keep writing. And I hope that you liked my little short but sweet presentation today. I had written maybe about a month or so ago, could have been a little bit longer. It was a post that I put on Facebook, a status that I put on Facebook, and it was saying pretty much what I talked about today in the message, talking about creative license and being able to make stuff up and to tell the truth about it, to a certain extent. But creative licensing is it gives you a sense of power, a sense of control, to be able to make up stories. And as I mentioned about my childhood, growing up, we couldn't, as kids, we couldn't say the word lie in our family. If someone told a fib, we couldn't say that. We couldn't say, well, they're lying. We had to say, well, they're telling a story. And so that's why I incorporated it in with the blog today, because I wanted to show how it relates to having a creative license and telling stories, as we were permitted to say when I was a kid. But they go hand in hand. Lying and having a creative license, and I hate to make it sound so base, because really it's not lying. I guess you could look at it that way, But then I guess everybody who's ever written a movie or written a book, that's what they've been doing. Basically, it's just lying. And I mean, it is making stuff up as you go along, but it's a little bit more detailed than that. When you are being creative, you are using that tool, which is called your brain, and the imagination that's there to to form images and sometimes create new words. We turn all of those things into great stories, because we do have this over active imagination. And, and if we didn't get all of the thoughts and the things that pop up in our heads out and onto paper, then this is from my experience. Sometimes I feel as though I'm going to lose my mind. So I have to write it down. No matter where I am, I've always told you I always keep pencil and paper somewhere close by for that reason, because I never know when I'm going to be inspired, or if I'm working on a project, I never know when I'm going to get an idea, or if I sing flashes before my face. I want to get as much of that, of that moment down, so I don't lose any of it, because it's there for a reason. It's coming to me for a reason to be used at a later date. So that's what I do. I don't ever ignore it. Whenever I see something or thought or image or words or phrase or paragraph, whatever it is, if it comes to me, I write it down, because I want to keep it. I want to hold on to it, because, my memory is not what it used to be. And I forget sometimes. I think this minute and the next minute is gone. So when it flashes into my head, I stop what I'm doing right then and right there, and I jot it down. And so, and that's just all part of being a writer. But, and it relates to being creative, because the creative mind never stops thinking. That's one of the things, I guess it's one of the drawbacks of having a great imagination. Because, even sometimes when your body is at rest, your mind is still going like 100 miles an hour. I dream all the time. And I've spoken and had conversations with people who sometimes they don't dream at all. Now, I don't know if it's due to the fact that maybe they take medications or something at night to aid them with sleeping, or or used for some other ailment that they are suffering with that prevents them from dreaming. But dreaming is something that I do sometimes when I am awake, and most certainly while I'm sleeping. So a lot of nights, a lot of days I wake up and I've slept all night long, but I haven't rested because my mind has not been at rest. And so it is sometimes bothersome to have that type of imagination. There's always, your mind is always on loop. It's going continuously. It never stops. But, or it may just have something to do with being a female. I don't know, because we just do things like that. We're always working out different scenarios in our mind. But, it's just one of the things that goes along with being creative. And this creative license is something that came to me, as I said, maybe a few weeks, maybe a month back. The things like this just pop into my head, and I use them. I don't let anything go to waste, because I am of the opinion that God does not put things on your mind and on your heart for you not to use them, and to give Him glory. So I try to do that in everything that I do, in everything that I write. I'm a romance writer, so I write about romance. I write about, situations that deal with male and female issues, and, and sometimes it's just real. And I just, I have to write about it. I have to tell the truth. So even though I am making up stories as I go along, but I try to be truthful in the pictures that I try to create for you, in the lives of the people, the characters that I create for you. I try to give you factual information, about things that really happen in relationships. So yes, the stories are completely made up, but the material that goes into creating these stories is factual. It either came from something that maybe transpired in my life, or someone that I know in some shape, form, or fashion, it has a great deal of truth behind it. So if you are a fan of mine, if you've read any of my books, then when you read them, you see that I write straight from the heart. And and I try to write things that are relatable, and so you have to remember that when you're being creative, that you want to pull the reader in, that you want to make them a part of the story. You want to make the characters relatable, because you want the reader to know that yes, you're reading this story, and yes, it's make believe, but still. You can relate to what's going on in it, because maybe it's happened in your life, or maybe it's happened in the life of someone that you know. So that's one of the things to always remember. But two, you don't ever want to abuse a creative license. As one of the examples that I gave you. And I see that quite a lot in books where maybe they didn't research the information well enough before they put it out there, or just thought that no one would actually go and look it up to see if it was true. But if it was something that grabbed their attention and they thought it was true in the story, a lot of people will go and look it up, because I'm guilty of it myself. But because they don't see these stories that they're reading as just being fanciful tales. They are so deep into the story that these characters become very real to them, and so everything that happens in every place that's described, they want to see if there's any truth behind it. So this is just a heads up. You might want to fact check your information before you throw it into a story, to make sure that the details are accurate, because it lowers your credibility if for some reason it's not true, and then you used it because if it's something that is real, if it's something that has taken place, and you use it and misquote it, then they're going to hold you liable for that. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that. Well, so that's all I have for today for the show. I try to keep it under 15 minutes or less, because I do understand that everyone has something to do on Saturdays, including me. And so I try to bring the show to you and finish it in as less time as possible, because I do want to hold you just for a little while and not lose you, because I've overshot the mark by going on and on and on. So that is not the purpose of the show. It is to uplift, to inspire, and to encourage other writers and authors to keep pressing forward. Sometimes you're tempted to look back to where you've been, but the idea is to keep your eyes straight ahead and see the light at the end of the tunnel, because one day you will get there. So that is the purpose of why I do this show, because I want to see everyone succeed. Like I said, we might not all get to the top of the mountain at the same time, but the goal is to get there. So this is what what I want to give back to the listeners of the show. I want to always give something of my time and of myself to everyone who listens to the show, and to every writer who is just now starting out and maybe don't have a true direction of which way they want to go or need to go. And that is the purpose of why I do this show, to give them things, to give them encouragement that they can use, in their own writing lives. Well, I hope that everybody has had a wonderful weekend. I know it's always short and sweet, but we do get these 2 days off to recoup before we have to go back to the grind. But tomorrow is worship day, and I always say this, that take someone to church with you, someone who may not have a church home, or someone who may not know the Lord. Just invite them out to come to church with you, to hear the word. I know that they can read it for themselves, but it is so important that they fellowship with like-minded individuals, and tell someone that you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. And I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time we meet again, God bless you and goodbye.